And welcome to Off the Dome Sports. My name is Sean, and I'm joined by my co-host Nick. And we're here to talk about some Saints football, like we always do. We'll always go off the dome.
Pelicans game on.
Late reaction. There we go. But we're going to always start with our sponsors like we always do. You know, we always like to smell fresh like swagger. Old Spice. And then you can't forget about your dinner needs in the Bell. Taco Bell. Get your Grande Supreme in the future. So, Nick, let's get down to it.
Exactly.
And let's get to business, man. We got a lot of expensive details going into, coaching staff, new hires. You got Joe Thomas, you got TJ Pignatti, you got Scott Tolzien, you got Doug Nussmeier, you got Brandon Staley. Then right after that, we'll cover the cap situation and everything you need to know on how the Saints can get under the cap and the new, like the main meaning on how the cap works, because a lot of people are misconceived out there. And then right after that, once we know what we are working with cap wise, we'll go over our favorite free agents that could possibly set us up and set us up for a good draft so we can nail these draft picks to start this rebuild year one in our young up and coming coach, Kellen Moore. Nick, so let's get it started, man. How's it going? How's your day been? How's your week been?
Yeah, nothing new to report here, man. You know, I live a very boring, uninteresting life for the most part. Work long hours and got some cleaning done today and, just some adulting, if you will. So nothing new to report over here. How about you?
Hey, I just had to bring the wife out to the airport. She's going back home to Baton Rouge. She's going to get to enjoy Mardi Gras without me, and I have to stay here in North Carolina, which is a great state, but is not near as close, or anything is as close as the Louisiana damn Mardi Gras time. Happy Carnival time out there. So let's get it started. Coaching staff, let's start with our passing game coordinator, our new quarterback coach, our new running back coach, well, returning running back coach,
sure.
Joel Thomas. Mm-hmm. So what starts with TJ Pignatti, comes from the Eagles, following Kellen Moore. I want to start with you, Nick, and get your opinion first. Kind of set me up, here, and let's get this go flowing.
I mean, when you asking me if I'm excited about a run game coordinator coming from the team that had a running back who led the league in rushing, yeah, no, I'm psyched about that, man. I mean, there's what's not to be excited about. Obviously, he has the Kellen Moore connection, who was the offensive coordinator. I mean, this is a great hire. So we're getting so leading rusher in the NFL. We're getting his running back coach essentially. Scott Tolzien, might not have been high level experience and not a great NFL career, but an NFL quarterback nonetheless to be your quarterback coach. And then, I mean, a guy in Joel Thomas who was there with Kamara for most of his career, Ingram as well. That was a pretty good Saints rushing attack during his time with the Saints from 2015 to 2023. And then he left last year to go to the Giants. But yeah, to bring Joel Thomas back is familiarity, if nothing else, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. And you do it for Alvin Kamara because that's his guy there. That's his guy. He's the guy that developed Alvin Kamara in a sense. But yeah, you get TJ Pignatti. He started his coaching career in Oregon, and I believe he might have played for Oregon as well as a quarterback. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not 100% accurate on that.
Hey, you're the college football guy, man. don't look at me on that one.
So it kind of gives you his background, right? Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly background. He's worked under Chip Kelly because he went back there in 2013, and that's pretty much in the height of Chip Kelly and Oregon. So you're looking at quarterbacks who possibly could be dual threat. And we all know, Derek Carr isn't a dual threat quarterback. Now, when he given a chance,
my man Derek can scoot when he needs to scoot. You know what I mean? So let's easy on him. Easy on the mid 30-year-old white man, right? You're taking a shot here.
I mean, people criticize him for taking that dive, but that was badass. I don't care what anybody says.
If he gets up and he's fine and he jogs back to the huddle,
he didn't do that, but
Saints Twitter still would have found some other way to shit on him. But it wouldn't have been as bad. But they're playing the result on that one, right?
If it was Taysom, everybody be
like, fuck yeah,
exactly.
Jesus, yeah,
exactly. And
absolutely,
you go down to Oregon, and then he went to the Eagles. He spent time under Doug Peterson. Served as an assistant line coach, and he eventually worked his way up. So you see what he did. Saquon Barkley, and you see the offensive scheme they had with Jalen Hurts. Do you think this hire will affect anything with Derek Carr, Nick?
No, I mean if he's coming to be the run game coordinator, no. But we'll talk about this when we get to some of the free agents that the Saints could realistically land this offseason. We're talking about he likes to operate out of a lot of 11 personnel, and that's not really something the Saints have been in a ton. We haven't had really the wide receiver talent or depth to do so, right? We've kind of been Juwan Johnson, Foster, Moreau, right? We're lining up a little heavy. So it'll be interesting to see if this is something that's going to continue with 3 receiver sets, or can we find some tight ends to continue the way that kind of the roster building that they've had.
Well, I could piggyback off the wide receiver separation Carr has dealt with, and Carr over his time, his 3 seasons with the Saints, has had great clean pocket passes. He has his percentage is pretty high for the last 3 years. But absolutely, you consider that the separation
when the pocket is clean. If somebody wanted to tell me Derek Carr throws the best deep ball in the NFL, I don't know. I mean, the proof's right out there. It's a beautiful deep ball.
But where I'm trying to get to is the receiver target separation for this past season ranked 28th in the NFL, only 1.9 yards. And you go to 2023, it's just as bad. Let's see. Well, it's not just as bad, but it went to 16, 2.1, a little healthier. But his first season was the worst. And now that's been his worst season with the Saints, and he's improved ever since. He was 34th in receiver, and I don't know how it's got 34th, but so that means it's last. So last in receiver target separation with only 1.97 yards of separation there. So, I mean, he's not dealing with healthy wide receivers. Because if you go back, I mean, we got 2 good wide receivers, but one's always has a concussion, and one always seems to have something going on with his hamstring or ankle, and we love these guys, but
one of them was one more concussion away from having applesauce for brains. Like,
and then we got a comment here from Tim Dunn off of YouTube. Thank you for the comment. And you guys can call in at 225-998-0573 if you like to give your input. So Carr's going to get cut March 12th.
Ooh, I don't know, man. I wouldn't hold your breath there, Tim. I don't know about that. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but
it's not going to happen.
I don't think that's happening, brother. You're going to be the quarterback for another year.
Only 1 of 2 things can happen. You can either trade the guy or you have to restructure him. If you cut him, you literally have no space to fill out the rest of your roster, let alone sign a draft class.
you're eating dead cap and you're just getting worse at the same time. So you don't,
Well, yeah, you're eating about $50 million of dead cap, and you're just going to cut the guy, and it's be a big waste of money.
Right.
You know,
they're not going to just pay, they're not just going to pay the guy to not play for them. That's not going to happen. Or they're not going to pay. They're not going to pay that level. They've done it in the past, but they're not going to go to that extreme to have him not be a Saint anymore.
And welcome back. We don't know your name, but Kansas City Chiefs fan from Lanston, Australia. He says Derek Carr's staying.
Yes. Yeah.
He's a Chiefs fan and a Saints fan. I don't know how that works, but
hey, who am I to judge?
Anyways,
Derek Carr is going to be the Saints quarterback. Sorry, he will be starting for your New Orleans Saints come September. Hate to break it to you.
Well, that's why we move on to Scott Tolzien, and that's exactly why you get a guy like Scott Tolzien, a former quarterback in himself, started at the University of Wisconsin, and then, was with the Colts. Did he back up Peyton Manning? Or that was right after Peyton Manning?
I'm not sure of his, entire trek through the NFL, but
I think he backed up Andrew Luck.
Sure. But again, this is the guy who, whether or not it was on the biggest of stages or the greatest of careers, it's a guy who spent time in the NFL as a quarterback. I'll take that experience as a quarterback coach any day.
Exactly. And we look at his career. You take an in-depth look at his career. You know about his playing career, like we just mentioned, coaching career. That's where I wanted to get to. So he spent time in Dallas with Kellen Moore and with Prescott having his best season, his MVP candidate season, where the Dallas offense ranked first in total offense and points scored while finishing second in passing yardage. And then the following year, the Cowboys were 11th in total offense, but 4th in points scored. All when Scott Tolzien was the quarterback coach and Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator. So you look at that, that's his success. You look at Dak Prescott, similar quarterback with Derek Carr. Dak maybe has a little bit mobility, just a little bit more, maybe not much. Maybe a little bit more runner vision or a little bit more power strength running. But as far as the passer, they're two similar quarterbacks. So I think that's why you bring in Scott Tolzien. You kind of mix in him with TJ Pignatti. You can get the best of both worlds. Maybe TJ is the guy to develop the next guy after Derek Carr. Either we know it's not Spencer Rattler, me and you, but either that could be Spencer Rattler, or you could draft a guy in between the second to the 4th rounds, maybe a Kyle McCord from Syracuse, former Ohio State quarterback, he looked very good in Syracuse. The only knock on him, he played a lot of bad defenses in the ACC, but he didn't look that bad when he was with Ohio State, and a lot of people don't give the credit he deserved. Yes, Will Howard is better, but Kyle McCord wasn't half bad. So you can either develop a guy like Spencer or you can develop a guy like Kyle McCord. Those two guys are going to play the key part in there. And that's why you keep Carr and restructure him. That way you have a better shot of developing a guy right after Derek Carr. And if that guy doesn't work out, oh, well, you're probably picking top 5 anyway at that point. So, and you can get your quarterback of the future then. So I think, they're making these small investments, and I think these are the little things that people are paying attention to, and they're seeing this is a step in the right direction for the Saints. And we got some comments. It's buzzing right here. Let's see. Tim Dunn, Cap's going up. Bet he gets cut. No, you're wrong.
No, you're right. Your cap is going up. You're right about that. Cap is going up, and it's going to help the Saints tremendously. The Saints don't have to do near the level of gymnastics that they've had to do, in years past. But he still ain't getting cut. Look, all right, Tim, would you like to wake up on Sunday mornings and have your favorite football team be competitive and have a legitimate shot to win pretty much any game that they're going to play? Yes. The answer is yes. I hope the answer is yes. And if the answer is yes, then fucking Derek Carr is the quarterback. Sorry, that's just the way it is. Because they're going to be they cut him. The white flag is being waved. You know what I'm saying? Before the season even starts. And if that's okay with you, then so be it. But that's not where I'm at as a fan. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Derek Carr is better than Jim Everett and Hill and Saints. That's a you question.
Dude, Jim Everett's way before my time. And does he mean Taysom Hill? Like I don't know what he means.
I think he means Taysom Hill. Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course, he's a better quarterback than Taysom Hill. Like that was a failed little mini experiment for sure.
That's what he meant right there.
Taysom Hill and Jim Everett's way before my. Yeah, that's way before my time. Taysom Hill wasn't good. Yeah.
And Carly says, Jesus fucking say that. But yeah. So we move on to Joel Thomas. We kind of already established he's a Kamara guy. You bring him in because he's got familiar, he's familiar and he had success. So at least, in the past, we bring back guys that might have not had the best success, but we bring them back anyways because they know the system and they know their role. This guy here, he's a pretty solid running backs coach. You've seen what he did with Tyrone Tracy last year with the Giants, and I had him in fantasy, and it was a big pickup. So, you bring him in, maybe he can, because he spent 1 year with Kendre Miller, even though he didn't even play hardly. So maybe he can make Kendre Miller better. You got that new strength and conditioning coach, the get back guy. And maybe you will see more guys healthy because they're conditioning and they're getting more strength in the offseason with this get back coach. I don't know what his name. You got his name?
Yeah, the Sean McVay's get back guy, the guy that keeps him from running on the field.
Right. So I think with him and the strength and conditioning guy, I think that's going to benefit the running back room the most. You go out, maybe sign Elijah Mitchell. We'll get into later. You got Kamara, you got Miller, and then you got Mitchell, and you still got Jordan Mims, and maybe you can find a drafted guy you did some research on, and he may make the team or not. So I think those are good hires. So let's move on to the coordinators, the most two important staff hires here. We'll start with Doug Nussmeier. Former Saints quarterback, was drafted in the 4th round out of Idaho, University of Idaho. So he started his, professional playing career quarterback for the Saints.
Ted Rath. Ted Rath is the strength and conditioning.
Ted Rath. That's it. And then you got Doug. He spent some time with Kellen with the Cowboys as a quarterback coach. His son obviously plays for LSU, the quarterback one for LSU that we may draft next year, but that's a story for another day. So, and he follows Kellen Moore to the Eagles when Kellen Moore left the Chargers. I believe he actually followed him to the Chargers too, if I'm not mistaken. He followed Kellen everywhere he's gone. So, with that being said, I think it's an excellent hire. You see the work he did with Jalen Hurts. You see the work he did with Dak Prescott. He's obviously got a niche for the quarterback position. So I think you bring in Scott Tolzien and you bring in TJ Pagnati. I mean, this is all in reason they're going to keep Derek Carr and they're going to make him a better quarterback than what you've seen the past 3 years. And what you've seen from Derek Carr in those 10 games was a mid-tier, lived up to his contract quarterback. Last year, in my opinion, was his best year so far.
Yeah, for sure.
He's proved every year. So maybe this is the season we finally get some more value in him, and maybe maybe we get to the level where he can actually win some meaningful games. We know he can win those mid to, bad team wins. He can get you at 500 or, a little under 500, but can he beat the good defenses in this league, the elite teams that we struggle against in these last 3 years? So I think you build the perfect quarterback staff for that to happen. We got some more comments. It's look.
So let's recap real quick. We got running backs coach coming back who coached Kamara, our star player most of his career, and the Saints had an exceptional running game during that time period. Welcome back, awesome. We're getting two former NFL quarterbacks on our staff. We're getting the offensive coordinator of the Super Bowl winning team as our head coach, and we're getting a defensive coordinator who has head coaching experience. I mean, hey, sign me up. I'm here for that, man. Those are good hires.
It's going to be one of the youngest coaching staffs in the league,
good.
which exactly
good.
Exactly.
Enough of these old retreads. When they were talking about bringing fucking Mike McCarthy in, I'd put a gun in my mouth, please. Like, no, thank you.
Exactly. No. And Doug's
Bill
here.
Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, Mike McCarthy. No, fucking no. This is a young man's game now. It's a young, innovative, thinking man's game now. That's where the NFL is. Sorry, the game evolves. I don't want my coach to be, AARP age. I want him to, be my age.
Exactly, and Doug is what Joe Woods was for Dennis Allen. Doug is what Pete Carmichael was for Sean Payton. So he's going to be here for a while. And if he makes Derek Carr an MVP candidate, hell, he might even get a head coaching gig. And I think it's a win-win situation. And you get into Brandon Staley, only 41 years old. We know he was the head coach of the Chargers. Kind of a similar situation like Dennis Allen, almost the same type of coaches. He runs a hybrid 3-4 defense, similar to what you see Vic Fangio with the Eagles run, that Super Bowl winning defense. Clearly the best unit, maybe in all of football last year, not just on the Eagles. So, and obviously he's not coming from the Eagles, but what I'm saying is he's running the same similar scheme. So, and with that being said, we have a head coach coming from the Eagles that could possibly recruit some guys, maybe even Sack Bond, which we don't necessarily need Sack Bond, in my opinion, but yeah, that Metcalf Becton, even though that's offense, I'm just naming guys that he could possibly recruit over from the Eagles that just won the Super Bowl. So Brandon Staley, you already had an endorsement from Jalen Ramsey, which is when you see a coach getting reviewed on Twitter saying that's my guy, and this guy is a good defensive coordinator, just doesn't work well as a head coach.
But and even if it didn't work well, that's still a guy with head coaching experience, and I'm always going to take that on the staff regardless of where it is. Like that adds value. That's added value, right?
Right, and then I bet you I could pull up when he was a defensive coordinator before he became a head coach, some of his ranks. So it looks like he was like first in total defensive yards with the Los Angeles Rams. Less yards given, whatever you want to say it. Third in rushing defense, first in passing defense when he was with the Rams being a defensive coordinator. No wonder why he got the head coaching job with the Chargers.
Well, that's awesome because I'm pretty sure the Saints were 27th last year against the pass. So
cool. Yeah. So I think his corners, and I could be wrong on this, I think his corners play a little bit more zone than versus man, but it's a hybrid defense. So I think it's just depending. I'm not a playbook guy. I'm not a guy that's going to take a deep dive on the scheme because I'm not going to know. But I just know the basics, and that's what you're going to see. I think, that Alante Taylor is going to highly benefit, and my boy Kool-Aid, I think he's going to highly benefit. And to the point where I don't think we need to bring back Paulson Adebo, and that's where you can save a little bit of money. In my opinion, I know Adebo is pretty damn good, and he's riding almost right under the star status, in my opinion. Not superstar, not elite, he's riding.
We got to get the penalty. The technique's got to improve. The penalties are too costly. But when he's on, I mean, he's a good young player with superstar potential. We'll put it that way.
But considering this is a deep defensive back draft class like it is for tight ends, I'm cool with running Taylor and Kool-Aid on the outside and re-sign Ungo and put him in the slot and draft your fourth guy and keep the pipeline growing like you have the past few years. So, and Mickey Loomis doesn't get enough credit for trading bum-ass Marshawn Lattimore.
Hey, can we talk? Can we sit? Dad, can we talk about that?
Highway robbery.
Can we talk about that? As much as Saints fans want to bash and put down and just slander Mickey Loomis's name, he pulled a fast one on the Commanders. Sorry, Redskins. Commanders. Robbery. Lattimore is toast. Y'all crazy. He's garbage.
I want Jackson Dart, Myles Garrett in New Orleans, Calvin Ridley. Okay, that's
I want a Lamborghini. We ain't got that kind of money, bro. We ain't got that kind of money. No, we gotta drive CRVs, baby. No. We don't got Lamborghini money. Yeah, I want Myles Garrett too. That ain't gonna happen.
Aston Gentry, Adu Carter, they might not even make it to 9.
Oh, we don't need a. We don't. Why would we want a running back? Hell no. We ain't taking a running back in 9. No.
Our MVP, laughing face. You say that, but you literally just watched Sam Darnold become an MVP candidate this year. He was literally a top 5 quarterback.
And I'll tell you this too. No one's really making MVP lists after 2 weeks, but after 2 weeks, I'm not sure there was anybody ahead of Derek Carr last year. That's all I'm saying, man. Before everything went to hell and before the entire roster died.
And I got to bring up that video.
Derek Carr was just as real an MVP candidate as anyone else would have been after 2 weeks. So
every time we talk about Derek Carr, I got to play this one video I always see on Twitter, and it's like Derek Carr dancing and stuff. It's hilarious. I gotta pull that up next time. Every time we talk about Derek Carr, but why couldn't Derek Carr with the right coach and be just like Sam Darnold of this past season? Why couldn't he? It's the same type of quarterback here.
Coaching and roster health around him. It's
sure Sam might have a little more talent just because he was a top.
He was a first overall. He was a number 1 draft pick for a reason. Yeah, Sam Darnold clearly has talent. Like you go to the Jets, anyone's going to look like trash with that organization and that coaching staff that was there at the same time that he was. I'll never understand this Derek Carr slander. What does everyone expect him to be, man? Golly, I don't understand it.
It's just because they've been spoiled all these years with Drew Brees. It's hilarious because they sat there and just shitted on Drew Brees his last 2 or 3 seasons for the noodle arm, and then they're gonna cry for him back and says, I'd rather take noodle arm Drew Brees over Derek Carr. And I'm like, okay, but you're literally saying Drew Brees needed to retire like 4 years ago and, disrespect the guy, even though when he had a noodle arm, he was still operating like at, top 10 quarterback rate, which at his age with the noodle arm, that's pretty damn impressive. So put some respect on Drew Brees' name. And no, Derek Carr will never ever be Drew Brees. So why even it's comparing apples and not even oranges. It's comparing apples and freaking pears. Like who the heck eats pears? So like I'm just saying, Tim Dunn and Kansas City Chief guy is blowing up the comment section.
Calais Campbell and Calvin. No.
Trade him to Santa. What's Santa going to do?
He means Saints. He misspelling. But
you're not going to bring Debo back cheap, even with the injury. You're not going to bring him back cheap, even with the injury. He's going to be highly sought after. He's going to get.
You think so? You think so? I mean, that's it. I think this is a unique situation, and we'll get to it when we bring up all these free agents we're going to be talking about here in that list you have. But I think this is a unique opportunity to bring back a player of Adebo's caliber because of said injury. Like, I think they might be able to get him cheap. Now, I tend to. You're probably right. He'll probably still, because of his age and because of the talent that he's flashed on the field. Yeah, you're probably right. But there's a chance, man. There's a chance that that injury is. I don't know.
Well, let's take a look at it. He could be my thing is the reason why I think he's going to get overpaid because he could be easily the best cornerback in this free agency class. He's better than Carlton Davis. Like Carlton Davis is gone, wash. Tafarius Ward, a good cornerback, but Paulson Adebo is better. DJ Reed, a good
that's DJ Reed the best. DJ Reed the best corner in the class then, for sure.
No. I disagreed. Paulson Adebo shown he could be cornerback number one. DJ Reed spent time next to Sauce Gardner an entire time. He has not yet proved he could be a cornerback one. Just because he could be a cornerback two does not mean he could be a quarterback one playing against the best wide receivers. And I had the metrics to back that up. You know, he was a good cornerback, but you know, he's above average until he can prove better. Just saying. Jonathan Jones, wash. Brian Murphy, decent, but Paulson Adebo's better. Jeff Okuda, ass. Kendall Fuller, old. Rasul Douglas, a great slot guy, but he's not a CB1. So I'm just saying, Stephon Gilmore, he's 34 years old. He played some good ball for the Minnesota Vikings, but let's be honest, his best year's behind him. Paulson Adebo's got that trajectory. I mean, the list continues. Like, I don't see a better cornerback in this free agency draft class better than Adebo, and that's why I think Adebo's going to get overpaid.
No, that's fine. I'm looking at the list of corners right here now too. You're not wrong. That's fine. I would say I would push back on DJ Reed, but everything else you said is, we're on the same page.
Right. And then let's go ahead and get into it. Let's get into this, this cap situation. And I can share the screen here. And I don't use over the cap. I use Spot Track. I believe it's the most accurate. So your dead money. Let's start with your dead money. You had to do the void on Chase Young. So you had to take back $9 million. Same thing with Jawan. You cut Nathan, which gave you a little bit of cap space right there. You cut Jamal, gave you a little cap space right there. You cut Kalen Saunders, gave you a little cap space right there. You had the void year on Tane Caspanola. You cut Cedric Wilson to get some more cap space, and then you come over here. You post Taysom Hill as a post June 1 cut. Same thing with Ramczyk because he's retiring.
Yep.
I know Cam Jordan's.
Those are the two big ones. I mean, that's where you're going to get most of your relief from.
And hear me out. I think with this new defensive scheme, you can officially use Cam Jordan like he should have been used the past 2 years, and that's a 3-tech, defensive end. I might not be saying it right, but you get what I'm saying. He's going to be on the outs, towards the outside, inside, if that makes sense. And he could probably also play the middle if he was to gain like 20 more pounds.
He won't be used as or relied upon as the pass rusher. He's been needed to be in years past, for sure.
He's going to be used as a guy that's going to open up rushing lanes for your guys, your outside linebackers, your edge rushers, maybe a Dante Fowler. We're going to get into that. So you restructure Eric McCoy and you try to get his cap hit as low as possible because you don't mind paying Eric McCoy a bigger cap hit down the road.
Right. Best center in the league for my money.
Alvin Kamara, you want to restructure, but you don't want to restructure the whole thing, and you add some forward years. And yes, you're going to have to pay him those forward years, but you leave those forward years maybe $1 to $5 million a piece. It's going to be chum change come around those years because the cap increases every year. You just seen it. It just helped out the Saints big time, where we're going to be able to sign a couple key guys to help us set up this draft. Tyrann Mathieu, you restructure, add on some Floyd years. Demario Davis, who just 2 years ago was an all-pro level linebacker, and he's still a key voice of this. He's basically the face of the franchise, in my opinion. Right now, he might not be the best player on the roster, but he's still, in my opinion, top 10, top 15 linebacker in this league.
Fair.
And Carl Granderson, you restructured. That's why you signed him early on. I believe last year, like in week 3. That's why you signed him to that extension, because you're able to move the money down the road, and Carl Granderson's good for it, and he's going to be used as an edge rusher, and I think that's going to be great. I think it's going to be great. That's what Carl Granderson does. He's going to be your power rusher, and then the other side's going to be your speed rusher. This might sound corny, but how Madden sets up their schemes with certain defenses, it's kind of on par what they do in real life. Carl Granderson is going to be your power rusher / run stopper on the outside. Then the other side, you're going to want a speed rusher, keep that balance, and so on. So, yeah. You can't restructure Chris Olave, still on a rookie contract. So anybody on a rookie contract, you can't restructure. You restructure Cesar Ruiz, just like Eric McCoy. The last 2 seasons, he has improved into a above average right guard.
100%.
And he can always, if knock on wood, because we always seem to have, career ending injuries, aka Ryan Ramczyk. So if Eric McCoy was to go down for life, Cesar Ruiz can play center as well. So that's what he played in college. So he's also, right. Yeah. So it's worth the value pushing the money back. The cap goes up every year. And then that leaves guys you could sign like Mekhi Becton for your left guard, which I have I'm
here for that.
75.2 overall grade. 63.6 passing blocking grade, 74.7 run blocking grade, only 3 sacks allowed, 25 total pressures allowed. You sign him, he follows Kellen Moore, which, he's going to be able to recruit him. Same thing with TJ Pignally and Doug Nussmeier. You very well may have the best run blocking offensive line in the league right there.
I mean, they kind of did last year. The Saints were running that air out the football down everybody's throat before, again, just everything went to hell.
And then you sign Dante Fowler. You're able to sign Dante Fowler. You put him on the other side of Carl Granderson. I mean, and you put Warner and Davis in the middle. I mean, talking about
that's the kind of pass rusher you want to get. Like, I'm here for that.
That kind of brings up Dome Patrol right there in a way, Warner, Davis in the middle, Granderson on the outside. I'm not going to
that one, but I got you.
Or maybe like the 49ers back in the day when Hallbar was there. They had that 3-4 defense. You had Aldon Smith and all these other guys, Patrick Willis. There was a second guy that was pretty damn good in the middle. But yeah, I mean, I think you need pass rush. Dante Fowler had 10.5 sacks last year, had a great season with the Washington Redskins. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that was once a bust.
You're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to pay to get him, though. You're gonna have to use quite a bit of the money that you're freeing up to get a Dante Fowler.
Well, Spot Track has his market value at 3 years, $15 million. Now, Spot Track is not 100% accurate.
That's way too low. Good pass rushers don't get $5 million a year on average. Hell no.
Well, the thing here is it's because of Dante Fowler's career. Is this a fluke season? I mean, he had,
what did he put up? What did he put up in recent memory when he hits the market? That's what's going to matter. That I'm telling you right now, the 10.5 sacks, those are going to play when it comes time for him to get paid. And
if that's the case, we still got about 17 million, and that's about seven more million we could use. The rest has to be decided in the draft class. But
if you got to pay, you're going to have to pay You got to pay at least $10 million for a guy like Dante, at least, and that's probably low. Honestly, that's probably a little low. Pass rushers get paid, man. You get to the quarterback, you get paid. That's pretty easy.
I guarantee you, Chase Young gets paid more than Dante Fowler.
Ooh, I mean that would be based solely upon pedigree, but I mean someone else can go ahead and do that. Let's not let that be us.
And then I got us signing Elijah Mitchell. You know, you look back to his rookie years.
Love that.
4.7
big Elijah Mitchell fan for sure.
You get him cheap because he's been injured all this time, but you know, he doesn't have to be the bell cow. You rotate him with Kendre Miller, Alvin Kamara. You bring back Joe Thomas, who's had success with the Saints at running back coach.
He can't be any worse. He can't be any worse than Jamal Williams. Cannot be, and no one could be.
And you look at Will Harris, which was a steal last season, and you bring him back on a minimum, and you see what he could do. And you know, if he proves himself early on in the season, then you can sign him to extension, just like you did with Carl Granderson, and then you're able to push back some more money. Because you know, maybe he's working his way up to being one of those core guys defensively. You know, especially in that secondary. You know, because Jordan Howden was, you know, supposed to be that guy, and he hasn't been bad, but I don't think he's going to be a full-time starter. He's a guy you're going to want to rotate in, maybe rotate in at nickel with Unga and so on, you know. So Will Harris did a phenomenal job, and I think you should re-sign him. You re-sign Lucas Patrick, did a decent job coming in, and
Patrick, Ugo Amadi. My biggest need to bring back Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Yes.
So I mean,
absolutely, all three of them.
Did you have any guys yourself that you personally named?
No, based on who's free agents off of our roster. I mean, you pretty much hit all the. No, we're pretty aligned and in tune in that regard. But Valdez-Scantling is like number one for me. I mean, that's probably because he's going to be veteran, like minimum, and you're going to get your money's worth there. You know what I mean? We showed in half a season that he came to New Orleans. Yeah, he far outplayed what he was getting paid. That's for goddamn sure.
And this is why you keep Derek Carr and restructure him. That way you can sign these key guys, because these key guys can be, you know, a jump start to a fast rebuild. Like you don't want to tank and become the Jacksonville Jaguars, who since 2008 has had 14 top 10 first round picks. Two of those were first overall picks, and they only had two playoff appearances to show for it. So it's just like, this is why you keep pushing the cat forward, and it's the reason why you want to build your core up. You want to develop your core. And yes, our core is, you know, fixing to be out its way because they're old, but that's fine. That's why you get some cornerstone guys in free agency that can help out, and then you got to hit in the draft. You got to hit the draft.
Draft is of utmost important. The draft is so important now. We need a 2017. Maybe not 2017 level draft, but like it's got to be. We got to nail this draft, right? Like it's so important. It's already 30. I don't care. It doesn't matter. We're not talking about MVS back for a 4 or 5 year deal. Bring him back 1 year, veteran minimum. Let him fucking fly deep off play action. What are we talking about? Like
super cheap. Like who cares?
$1 million.
He can also play special teams. Special teams. I mean,
Scantling is already 30. Okay, but he still runs a 4.3. So, but I don't care how old he is. He is on a year by year basis moving forward. Like we have Shaheed for that. Oh, you mean you mean the guy who got hurt? You can have more than one fast receiver, by the way. Like just so we're aware. If Marquez Valdez-Scantling is your 4th or 5th receiver, it's a good problem to have, right? I mean, that's a pretty good problem to have.
Especially if Kellen Moore plans on doing that 11 personnel like we talked about.
We're gonna need multiple receivers out there. Gonna need at least 3 receivers out there, and you need depth for that. I mean, at worst, you can he battles in training camp, and maybe he gets cut. Maybe there's a guy like Bub Means, and they can't keep off the field or whatever. But you gotta make bringing back Valdez-Scantling, and it's not going to have to be a day one thing. He's not going to get day one free agency money, but that's a guy that they need to be in contact with and be highly interested in bringing back, in my opinion.
I don't think he gets it.
We already have too many of this type. No, that are 6'4" and run a 4.3. No, we don't got a lot of those, bro. The NFL don't have a lot of those. Now is he a great route runner? No. Does he have great hands? No. That's why he's 30 and available. But that's a guy. Those are metrics that I want at a veteran minimum contract as depth in my wide receiver room.
Like, I also wouldn't mind bringing back Dante Pettis too. He wasn't half bad either.
Dante Pettis is a good and that's a guy that can contribute on special teams too, right?
Exactly. The new special teams coach.
MVS is not a special teams player, but Dante Pettis is a guy with special teams experience. Olave, Shaheed, and Scantling are redundant. Well, no, they're not. I mean, Olave might be 6 feet tall. Shaheed's 5'10", Scantling 6'4". Fuck. Like, what do you? No, they're not redundant. They're not.
I can tell you the difference between all three. Olave can do a little bit of everything. He's gonna be playing more in the slot. He's
your route runner. He's your wide receiver one, no doubt.
And Shaheed's gonna be your gadget guy, and he can beat you deep, almost like Tyreek Hill in a sense. Like you always see him on these jet sweeps, and stuff like that. And he's on kick return and so on. And Scatlin is your deep ball guy, obviously. So I mean,
the rook here commenting seems to think that I want Valdez Scantling. Yeah, that's his name. He seems to think that I'm clamoring for Valdez Scantling to be on the field the entire game. No, but I want 4.3 speed. The threat of that somewhere in my wide receiver room. Sure, you have it with Shaheed, but you can't have too much of that. You can't have too much speed. And really tall speed is great.
Calvin Banks, I think offensive guard or tackle out of Texas. I don't know. We're not going to get into draft stuff.
I don't think we need to draft offensive line at all.
No. We need the chain mover. He's talking about running back? Chain mover.
Hang on, I'm bringing up Calvin Banks. I mean, offensive tackle. If we're there's with Penning and Fuaga, there's no reason to be going offensive tackle, nor the kid from LSU. Like that is not a need. You do not draft. And if they want to take an offensive lineman, that's fine. But you wait until the 5th round where the Saints have success finding like hidden gems. You don't do it early. Like we need if the Saints are going to stay at 9, right? Which I think both of us are okay with them doing. You need like a bad fucking dude, a pass rusher, right? Or you need like a top tier, like a lockdown corner. You need to replace Marshawn Lattimore with a 9th pick, right? You need just like a can't miss prospect. You know what I mean?
Best available line.
We're already pot committed with the offensive tackles that we have. Drafting one would be you got to avoid redundancy like that. You can't go offensive line, especially not tackle or center. Or the only place that you draft on the offensive line is left guard, and you're not taking a guard in the top 10, let alone the 1st round. So, I mean, we're not going offensive line at 9. Sorry.
We need the chain mover.
At wide receiver, I'm sure he means. Okay, well.
That's why you got Olave.
I mean, yeah, isn't Olave that kind of guy? He's the guy that's going to get open. He's going to catch your quick slants. He's going to get... The drafting needs to be on defense, especially at 9. Like, you need an absolute game changer off the edge if he's there and you can find it.
Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame.
I mean, I think safety is an area of... I mean, I don't think it's as big of a need as... I don't know if you read his most recent article, but as our guy Bob Rose seems to think it is. But, sure, it's... I mean... Matthew's getting older, and like you said, Jordan Howden
Will
you know,
Harris.
looked promising his rookie year, but maybe hasn't continued that same trajectory. Will Harris, a free agent. Sure, I can see safety, but even safety in the top 10, not interested. Not interested. I need the badass pass rusher off the edge, or I need the lockdown, just gonna be your best corner for 8 years, like type guy. You know what I mean?
You're gonna have to draft whoever you think is gonna have the most immediate impact, obviously, and who can be the
Day
star.
one. Day
Yeah,
one.
day
Who's
one.
starting for me day one? Who's gonna be an impact player as a rookie?
And it's either what you just said, pass rusher, either Melkel Williams out of Georgia or a Mike Green out of Marshall, which we've been mocked to in several mocks, or offensively, I think if you want to go offense,
Will Johnson from Michigan at corner. You know what I mean? Just like
Will
you
Johnson.
need a lot. You gotta have a blue chip, fucking game-changing defensive guy, man.
And if you want a
That's
blue
what I want.
chip guy offensively, you would want to go Alton Gentry. But if we're gonna go Mitchell, there's no need for Gentry. So
there's no need even with Kamara and Kendra Miller. You're fine at running back. You're fine at running back, right? I know running back's the new hot thing with Barkley going over 2,000 and Derrick Henry having a good year with a new team, and running backs are back, man. They're the new fad again. No, they're still not. They're still not. You can get running back production at a much reduced value, and they not only do they not need to draft a running back, even if they don't sign a guy like Elijah Mitchell. You're forgetting about Jordan Mims on the, whether he comes up to the active game day roster or is on a guy who bounces back and forth in the practice squad. Like, they're fine at running back, man. They're fine. We have to operate as though you have to. You draft a position like running back, then you are automatically from the get-go planning on Kamara to not be healthy, and that's you can't plan like that, right? You gotta. Kamara is still a stud. He's on our team for 2 more years with that extension, and you're fine at running back.
And the thing is, if you still want another young guy, I mean, it's going to be a deep running back class, so you can get one undrafted like the Saints have been doing for 20 years.
Saints, and that's thank you. The Saints find gems at running back and offensive line, whether it be late in the draft or after the draft. That's proven.
And let's talk about tight ends. We mentioned Mike Gesicki, and then maybe you sign a guy. I mean, you draft a guy. Maybe you don't have to draft one, obviously, in the first round, but in the third, fourth round, maybe a Harrod Flan out of Bowling Green, who was number 1 in receiving yards amongst all tight ends in college football, and I believe was top 5 in receiving yards amongst all players in college football, and should have won the best tight end award in college football, but I believe Tyler Warren won it, which is projected to go top 10. Or you can go Mason Taylor out of LSU, or you can go Gunnar Helm out of Texas. I mean, the list goes on. So
that's another position though. You're not drafting tight end at 9. You
still got Dylan Hooker, who showed some promise last year.
If we can't bring back Juwan Johnson or Foster Moreau, Mike Gesicki, I'm here for that. You're gonna get so much bang for your buck with a guy like Mike Gesicki.
And I don't think the Rook watched the Eagles. I don't think he's never watched when he was with the Cowboys. I mean,
they use that many wide receivers. I don't know, man. I saw
Jahan Johnson.
Jahan Dotson make a lot of impact plays down the stretch late in the season in the playoffs. I mean, look, they got.
I mean, what are you talking about?
We think of them as a run heavy team. No, they're just a very successful running team.
Carson Beck, he's in next year's draft class. He sucks anyway. Yeah. Tim wants Ted McMillan out of Arizona, wide receiver at 9. Why?
I don't even think why, but
why?
I mean, wide receiver, if for the right player, that's a position that you can draft at 9, but the Saints don't need that. That's not a position of need.
Well, and my thing is, you don't start maximizing your wide receivers until you know you got that quarterback of the future. In my opinion, if you
Right,
don't,
and if Derek Carr's not it, as so many Saints fans will have you believe is the case, that he's not any good at all. Well, he's not the quarterback of the future, of course, because he's 34.
but they think Rattler's the future. You know,
Boy, they're gonna be
um, and look,
Olave
we
scares
agree.
me with the concussions, no
Yes,
question. But again, to the point where you don't think that he's going to be a wide receiver one, like a true like 1,000-yard studs year in and year out anymore. I mean, okay, if you're already at that point, I'm not.
and look, if a team wants to offer us a first round pick or even a second round pick, I think we should go for it.
For Olave, now that I would do. Now that's a different discussion. I would definitely trade Olave.
Don't get me wrong, I love Olave, but yes, the
I don't think
concussions
you wouldn't get that. You would not get that though. You'd get like a third.
It's been rumored. It's been rumored the Jets are interested, but I don't know. They might have backed off the rumors because Garrett Wilson decided he wants to stay now. So I don't,
You would not get a first or second for Chris Olave. I would love that, but I don't see that being the case.
Yeah, after that Carolina Panthers hit, you don't want to. I will admit Derek Carr does throw some medicine balls, but I mean that's football, right? It's literally football. You get paid to take those sometimes, and yes, sometimes Carr. If the play doesn't gain any value, maybe he should just throw it away. But if the game was on the line, you got to get a first down, or if you're on a goal line, you got to get a touchdown. You better fucking catch that pass and receive that medicine ball and win the game. You know what I'm saying? It's football. You are expected to get hit.
If you want to take, they found a guy like Michael Thomas in the second round. If you want to go receiver, second, third, fourth round, fine. But just at nine is where you get the difference-making edge rusher or a lockdown corner. Those guys will not be. You can find a star receiver in the second round. You want one of those two positions that I mentioned there? Those come top 10 in the draft. You know what I mean? Like those are premium. Everyone wants those. Everyone needs those. So that's where you get that. Top 10, man. You got to go edge rusher or corner.
And he agrees with you.
Is the most important. 100. That's where I'm going. I need to get to the quarterback. Like the Saints, the Saints have a severe issue there.
And please call in below. And we want to hear your feedback live, man, instead of reading words. We already established no to Aston Gentry. We already established no.
Make sure
because the great password.
It definitely helps the secondary, 100%.
And he agrees what we had to say. It is a deep running class. Yep. You can get one late or undrafted. Exactly. Daniel Johnson, wide receiver. Let's take a look. Sounds like a mid-round guy.
Why don't we go to let's go position by position, right? As far as free agents go.
If you guys want to call in, and if you have a free agent you'd like to discuss, holistic free agent,
we'd love to hear it. Now, Sean, I'm gonna start us off here. I'm looking at quarterback, right? We're gonna go quarterback, running back, wide receiver. We're just gonna go down this list here that I have. Quarterbacks, I'm looking at Justin Fields.
Correct.
Right? That's a guy you'll be able to get really cheap, and he's 25. He's still so young. Like he can compete with Carr in the offseason in training camp, and if he severely outplays him, okay. Hey, Saints fans, I know you've been clamoring for a new quarterback. Here he is, right? I mean, and that's a guy that's mobile like Jalen Hurts, where Kellen Moore is coming from, and had his offense, developed around. I'm a big Justin Fields believer. So, but I understand if those people aren't. I mean, you got a guy like Jameis Winston, But other than that, there's no real. I know you'll say Trey Lance like a fucking psycho, but
Hey man, he didn't get a shot. He didn't get his shot. And if you really want to go deep, yeah, Jameis Winston would be the second option, but Mason Rudolph didn't look too bad. Cooper Rush maybe.
No, I'm
Kellen
not.
Moore has
I'm not interested in.
experience.
I'm not interested in anything there. If you're going to sign a free agent quarterback, they have to possess. Right, Justin Fields is an elite athlete, right? Elite runner of the football. Like that is a game changing ability that he possesses, and you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck there. So, like, the only way that I'm interested in bringing in a quarterback is if he can do something that your current starter can't, right? If he's a difference maker in a different way where he might be able to steal a job from Carr, but none of these other guys could, because at that point, just keep developing Rattler and God forbid Jake Haener. But
What about Daniel Jones?
no, not
No?
interested. Nah. I mean, let me hear your thought process there. But me, no, I'm good on that.
I mean, Daniel Jones, I don't think he's really unleashed his true potential running the ball. I mean, obviously he's got some wheels and he has proven that he can run a similar offense that a Justin Fields can run or a Jalen Hurts can run. And maybe that's what he needs instead of passing the ball to these, not named neighbors, these scrub wide receivers he's been having these past 3 or 4 years. And, it's the same thing with Carr. He's not getting that target separation, and no wonder why he's getting killed every year. And honestly, the good thing to contradict that with is running the ball. You seen when we had Taysom as QB1, which by the way he should have been QB1 this entire time, right after Drew Brees, but that's a different story for another day. When we
I don't know about that. Okay, all right, okay.
77-2 as a starter, and the dude he showed how valuable it is in today's game to have a quarterback that can run the ball just like a running back. You see it with Josh Allen, which MVP, and I feel bad that the Chiefs won and they should have been in the Super Bowl, but whatever. But you're seeing it. Your quarterback has to have mobility and they have to run. It adds another element to the offense. You can run RPOs, it adds more rushing yards to your rushing attack. So you don't have to rely 100% on your running backs. Why do you think James Cook, keeps getting better every year? Because he doesn't have to be the true bell cow. Yes, he may
Right,
be the true.
They're three deep at Brent. Yeah, I mean they cycle through backs for sure.
They cycle, but he gets bulk of the carries amongst the running backs. But you put Josh Allen in there, that's basically a fourth running back. I mean, it just works so much better in today's offenses in today's world. So that's why I mentioned Daniel Jones, but it's wishy washy.
So for me, I just see Justin Fields a quarterback. There is not any running back that either one the Saints could really afford to waste money on, or B that I would even want as a backup.
Elijah Mitchell.
Oh, you're right. Not shown here on this list of running backs. He would be pretty far down because of the injury. I guess he's the only one. I mean, I'm not interested in. I mean, you're talking about they wouldn't be able to afford Aaron Jones or J.K. Dobbins or Najee Harris or probably not even Nick Chubb, probably not Rico Dowdle. Not interested in A.J. Dillon. Kareem Hunt wouldn't come here. Not
Jordan Mason.
Not interested in Javonte Williams. Alexander Madison, no thank you. Cam Akers, no thank you. And Travis Homer is essentially just a special teams player. So, yeah, there's not anyone on this list of 11 they have here that I would even touch. Wide receiver, not only is it not a need, not only is it not that kind of need in my opinion, but yeah, I mean, there's no either everyone's too expensive, or same with running back, wouldn't come here, or I'm just not interested at this point in their career. I mean, tight ends, look who's ranked number one tight end in free agency, Juwan Johnson, man. I would love to find a way to bring him back for the right price. I mean, when he's healthy, he's proven to be a pretty damn good tight end.
He's frustrating to watch, dude. Like sometimes, I don't think he has a good rapport with Derek Carr. I don't know what it is. it never seems like, especially going over the middle, they just are never on the same page. And I was at that Carolina Panthers game, and Jawan Johnson quit on a route like 3 or 4 times where it could have been a 20-yard gain, 30-yard gain, and it could have won the game. But they obviously choke and lost. And
that's
I
why,
don't know.
like we said earlier, Mike Gesicki, though, you're talking about value and what you could potentially
Exactly.
bring him in for. I would probably actually rather have Mike Gesicki if the price is right. I'm a big Mike Gesicki believer. Offensive tackle, not a need. Guard, not a need. Offensive line, not a need. I mean, these edge rushers, we're talking about these guys. These guys are way too expensive, right? Khalil Mack, Josh Sweat, Browning from the Cardinals, Hassan Reddick. I mean, you saw him fucking hold out for the Jets. He wanted so much money. Azeez Ojulari, DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, Dante Fowler is probably where you start saying, yeah, they could, we wouldn't mind paying what he's gonna be asking and demanding. Obviously, Chase Young, 2 spots below him. Matthew Judon, I guess they could take a flyer on.
6 sacks.
Probably not at this point in his career, though. I mean, he's like 34. Josh Uche from the Chiefs, Derek Barnett, who the Saints almost drafted once upon a time. Yeah, Dante Fowler is probably the only one that I'd be interested in spending real significant money on there. Defensive tackles now, I mean, look, Calais Campbell, that's kind of a scheme fit, though. You know what I mean? If you kick him inside, that's now I might take a flyer on Calais Campbell for the right price, but I mean, game-changing defensive tackles, the Saints aren't going to be able to afford them either. I mean, do you have anyone in mind there?
I honestly, I'm good with what we have. I'm good with Breeze. I'm good with Christian Boyd. I'm good with Cam Jordan making that switch. I'm perfectly fine. You still got Isaiah Foskey, which would probably fit better in this defense. And Brian Breeze is probably going to go more towards the outside instead as a nose tackle. So I'm fine with it. I think you just gotta stack up on those pass rushers, those edge rushers, Dante Fowler, and then double up with that 9th overall pick,
And Sean, here's why I think we might be able to get Paulson and Debo back cheap. I mean, of the 11 corners they have listed here in the top 75 free agents, I mean, guess who's number 11? He's sitting right there, man. They got guys like DJ Reed. We wouldn't be able to afford him anyway. Same with Charvarius Ward. Same with Carlton Davis. Same with Byron Murphy. Same with Rasul Douglas. Asante Samuel, I don't know how someone's going to snatch him up. He's at 6. That's way too low. Mike Hilton, Bengals. Jonathan Jones, Nate Hobbs. I mean, yeah, you could say Paulson and Debo probably should be slotted right there at 7, in my opinion. But I mean, I think teams kind of look at him at 11 here, as far as his position group goes. That injury is no joke, man. And I mean, that's a unique situation where the Saints could retain, one of their own guys who in another year where he doesn't get hurt, probably does command a lot of money, but because of that injury, might not be able to.
And we do got a caller on the line. It's our former third co-host, Ryan Navarro. How's it going, Ryan?
Yo, I just want to say you're a dumbass for mentioning Isaiah Foskey.
I can't hear him.
Isaiah Foskey as an option. I was like, you're a dumbass. That dude can barely get on special teams.
Right. Foskey's a huge bust. Like, busty.
Well, no, he hung up, I guess, but Isaiah Foskey, I didn't say he's going to be defensive tackle. He's going to move to the edge, and he could probably play, on the line as well at the end, but he's going to be on the edge, and that's where he's going to be the most productive.
I don't even think
that's what he did in college.
Isaiah Foskey would be lucky to make this team.
We'll see. I'm telling you.
He'd be lucky to play in Canada at this point.
We used to say the same thing about Zach Braun, and then look where he did with the Eagles. We used to say the same thing. We used to say the same thing. Now, Christian Boyd, I mean,
I didn't, but I get your. I didn't say that, but I get your sentiment. He was miscast and misused, and sure, but
a Christian Boyd, if you listen to some of these big name Saints media guys like a Ross Jackson, he talks about Christian Boyd all the time and how he's going to be a perfect fit for Brandon Staley's, and he's going to be a key contributor on that line. He's not going to be a full-time starter, but he's going to be your rotational guy, and he's going to make some key plays to open up pass rushing lanes. So, I mean, you want to keep them guys because you're going to cut Kalen Saunders, so you're going to need somebody to replace him. You're cutting Nathan Shepard. So, like, those guys are going to be moved off the cap. So, I mean, Christian Boyd is there to replace them, and then maybe you draft somebody in the 5th, 6th round that can fill in that rotation. I mean, hey, you can find undrafted guys. I mean, back in the day, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we had Malcolm Roach. Now he's a key defender for the Broncos right now on their defensive line. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you know.
So let me jump to safety here. I mean, we'll take out Javon Holland. We'll take out Talanoa Hufanga. We'll take out Justin Reed. Probably Cameron Bynum and Harrison Smith from the Vikings, both of them. Now, you get down to 7, though, and you get down to a guy that I was big on pre-draft for his year, Trayvon Merrick from the Raiders.
Let's look up his metrics.
I got to expect that he's going to get paid, though. I don't know why he's so low. But at 8, here's a guy that the Saints – brought in for a visit and ultimately, didn't end up signing in Justin Simmons. But I don't know. I'd be okay for Justin Simmons for a year or 2 at the right price. Why not?
So let's look at
Andre Sisco from the Jaguars. I'm big on. I really like him. And Jeremy Chin and Julian Blackman from the Colts. I mean, those are like three at the bottom right there. Like this is a deep Asian class for safety.
Yeah.
Man, wow, it really is. Jeez.
Well, you look at Trayvon Moehrig, 13th amongst safeties in solo tackles, 7th in assistant tackles amongst safeties, 10th in sacks amongst safeties, 10th in tackles for loss amongst safeties, 20th in pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. 17 games played.
But the age alone is like let's. Boy,
I was saying that's a pretty good matrix. That's pretty good.
You can see it, but I don't even really care what the numbers are. Just age alone in his draft profile coming in, like I'm surprised that he's going to be hitting the market.
Ryan thinks Bub Memes is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver.
I mean, I don't think he'll ever get the opportunity to be, but boy, if he did, that would solve a lot of issues real quick.
I think you're looking at another Traquan Smith, in my opinion.
Probably. That's probably more realistic. But I tell you what, if that ever happened, Joey Bosa.
I mean, let's look at his matrix.
He's probably not on here because he's not official. Maybe it's not official yet, but I would, I would not turn down just a flyer year on Joey Bosa if he had to sign like a prove-it deal because of all the injuries that he's had over the years.
Well, he played the most games in his career so far, 14 games, but he kind of had a down season. He was 57th amongst edge rushers and tackles, 120th in assisted tackles, 47th in sacks, 47th in quarterback pressures, 66th in tackles for rush, 58th in run stuffs. So, I mean, he kind of had a down year, and you consider his injury history. Is that a guy you really want to waste money on?
I mean, if you can bring in Chase Young, you can bring in Joey Bosa. Like you can, you know what I mean? Like if the price is right, if you can bring in Chase Young, you can bring in Joey Bosa.
Honestly, I'd rather bring in Chase Young than Joey Bosa right now.
I'm not going to rule out Chase Young as a bring back candidate, but I just think we're talking. He's going to get at least Dante Fowler money, right? Because of his age and his pedigree coming in from Ohio State, like the kind of physical freak that he is, like that he's just going to demand money. If you want to take a dart throw on a mid to late quarterback, look at Jalen Milroe. I mean, where do you think Milroe gets drafted, Sean? I mean, that's a really good.
I think he gets.
That's a great name to suggest there.
I think he gets. he gets drafted in the second round. I do. I think he's another Malik Willis type situation, which looked pretty good with the Packers with the right coaching, and it just goes to show with the right coaching, some players can be what they were hyped up to be. Even though Malik Williams was a third round pick, he was still pretty hyped up. So I think Jalen Milroe, a guy that I really valued in college, and right before he took over for Bryce Young, and I was telling Bama fans that Jalen Milroe has the potential to be better than Bryce Young as far as career wise at Alabama. He would have if Nick Saban would have stayed, because I just feel like Kalen DeBoer kind of messed up his game. He was trying to make him more into a Michael Penix when Jalen Milroe is a Jalen Hurts. Like, this guy, he's like Taysom Hill with like Joe Milton arm strength. Now he needs to hone in on his accuracy, and the technique needs to be better. So like it is similar to what you saw in Joe Milton. He's that wild card quarterback with all the gifted skills. If he could just hone it down, you may have something. Like I said, he reminded me a lot of Taysom Hill based on his running ability, and the dude's got a cannon for an arm. And you look at Jalen Hurts as well. I don't see why he could. Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields is a better passer than Jalen Milroe, I don't see why Jalen Milroe couldn't be used like those players. And Kellen Moore obviously just ran an offense with Jalen Hurts. So I wouldn't mind that in the second, third round. And this is why I think you should keep Derek Carr. You don't have to play Milroe right away. Hey, even let Rattler get beat up if Carr gets hurt. Let Milroe just sit until it's his time. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's the next Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. I don't know. Like, Patrick Mahomes sat a year, didn't play. Yeah, Alex Smith was still pretty solid, but I wouldn't mind Milroe.
But in the second round, boy, I'd say take.
The Michigan game was concerning. If you watched the Michigan game and the bowl game, and it was meaningless, yeah, sure, but it was concerning. He was pretty god awful, but I will say this: he still made plays in that game with his feet and still kept him in it. But there's a lot of things he did wrong that ultimately is the reason why they lost, and it was concerning. Props to the Michigan defense, but it was concerning. He went from a top 10 draft pick to a second round draft pick based off that bowl game alone.
I mean, those are all the free agents that I would be interested in. I mean, because like I said, everyone else is going to be either priced out of the Saints range, is too old at this point, and you're kind of just taking reps and development away from younger guys. The guy Amari Cooper from the Bills, like, he'll probably come cheaper now than he otherwise would have. Just because of how bad of a year he had, but you're right. I don't want him. But there are guys like that where I'd be like, maybe, but you still probably have to pay.
If we were playing Madden, sure.
Yeah, he's going to cost too much for what you're not going to get great value on that contract. But yeah, I mean, other than Mekhi Becton on the offensive line, I don't think you need to go anything there. Defensive tackles, like you said, with Brian Brzee, I think we're good there. Linebacker, corners. I can't believe they have Paulson Adebo at 11. I mean, that right there makes me think that you might be able to get him back on a good deal.
I don't know. I mean, truthfully, I do think a lot of teams view him as the number one cornerback in this free agency draft class. I'm telling you, he's going to get overpaid. And maybe rightfully so. Rightfully so. But I just know that you got Kool-Aid. He played quarterback one. Let him develop in this new defense. And Alontae Taylor just keeps getting better. He might start slow, but he normally gets better as the year goes on. And maybe he's a different player in this new defense as well. And Then you go draft.
Alontae Taylor stays in the slot. Alontae Taylor can be an elite playmaker on your defense. Like, I love Alontae Taylor. Boyd and Foskey are not sniffing the 53 on any other squad, right? Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Foskey, lucky to. The Saints cut him. The Saints cut him. He's going to Canada, and he might have trouble playing across the border. Like,
so, technically, Peyton Turner is a free agent, but if he was still on the books, would you rather Peyton Turner or Isaiah Foskey?
I'd rather shoot myself in the head. I'm
telling you, Foskey is going to do well in his defense, and he is going to make the 53, and I'm willing to bet on it, Ryan, and I'm willing to bet that Christian Boyd's going to make the roster too.
Okay.
So I'm willing to bet on it. Got to wait on the combine for a lot of these quarterbacks.
I am not willing to bet. I'm a betting man, as it's well known around these parts, but I am not willing to make that bet.
I'm telling you, Adebo's market.
It'd be interesting to see what Adebo's market is, Ryan. You're right. It will be interesting to see it. And we'll be able to, once the Saints get all their salary cap gymnastics done as they do every year, once we have that final number as far as what they have to spend, we'll have a better idea of who they really can bring in. But yeah, those are all the free agents that I really see that are intriguing. Like I said, everyone else is priced out or just at a point in their career where, I wouldn't bring him in, even though my suggestion of Calais Campbell kind of is the only exception at 38 years old where I would maybe consider it. But yeah, other than that, that's where I'm at. Just a quick early look at free agency.
For sure. And I think we pretty much covered a good bit. I mean, we put in some solid details, and draft time is going to be real interesting. Like we said, they're gonna hit it like it's 2017 all over again. It's a must.
This draft is so important, man. Like this, it really is. There's no other way around it.
And that's why you got to set yourself up in free agency, and that's why you got to restructure Carr, and you got to make the restructures. That's what we've been doing for 20 years. And, yes, the last 5 seasons we weren't good. But look, we lost.
No, I would even say,
Drew Brees.
Don't say. Let me stop you right there. I'm not even gonna say 5 seasons they haven't been good. I don't know, man. They had the same record as a division winner 2 years ago, right? In 2023. They finished 9-8, just like the Buccaneers did. And then in 2021, they started off 5-2 with Jameis, and then, he died. So, like, the idea that, like, the Saints are some bottom of the barrel franchise because they've missed the playoffs the last 4 years. But guess what? No one won more games in the 4 years prior to that, from 2017 to 2020 than, drum roll, the New Orleans Saints. So, you go from being the best team over a 4-year period to, missing the playoffs for 4 years. That's the NFL, man. That's what happens. Like, there's ups and there's downs. And guess what? The Saints, a lot of fans, like we said, spoiled. The Saints were good for a decade and a half, man. Like, that's not really real life. Like, that's because of Drew Brees and Sean Payton to a lesser extent. Like, it's not really how a lot of teams get to operate. Not everyone's like the Green Bay Packers who go from Hall of Fame quarterback to Hall of Fame quarterback to, really good young quarterback. Like that's not real life also. We'll have 60+ million in cap space next year. Well, I don't know about like this offseason. I don't know how
2026.
Okay. So for 2020, cool. Yeah, cool. And then all of a sudden you're operating at a much better position,
Well, yeah, didn't whoever performed at the level you want to build a core with, you can extend that 60 million and extend their contracts and build off that core. And that's why this draft is important, because this draft is your next core, or it's just gonna all fall in your face, and
but 2000. So we're talking about having another 2017 draft. Who was our first pick at? I believe what was it, 11? Marshawn Lattimore. And that's where you have to get a guy like Lattimore, who was the first 5-6 years of his career, a Hall of Fame caliber, like level corner, like a real, like all pro level, a lockdown true. He's going to be your number one corner for 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah, like that's where you have to draft those guys. You don't get those guys in the second, third round, really. Like you want a blue chip corner or edge rusher. You find that at 9. That's what you take right there. Because otherwise, trade down, right? If you can't get, if all those guys are already gone, whoever the Saints have on their board and they deem worthy of a 9th pick, if all those guys are gone, fine, trade down, accumulate later round picks to move back, 10 spots, and then take your. Could the Pelicans and can't even sell hope correctly? Saints fans are spoiled big time. Saints fans are beyond spoiled. I mean, it's something that I've complained about for years, and it's like a lot of Saints fans didn't go through Aaron Brooks like I did with when it comes to Derek Carr, like mediocre to slightly okay quarterback play. Like, sorry, that's real life, man. This is what you get after 15 years of arguably all-time best quarterback play. Yeah, you're gonna get a couple years of a veteran who's on the tail end of his career.
Let's see. We get and appreciate the comments, guys. This is
for sure. That's a lot of comments tonight. I love that.
And if Rattler isn't it, you go after Sellers, Manning, Nuss, Lama, Leva.
In the 2026 draft, I agree. Now we go quarterback, but there's no quarterback in my opinion, and we're gonna get a lot. We're gonna get way deeper into this come, closer to the draft here in a couple of weeks. But there's no quarterback, in my opinion, that's worthy of the Saints making tying their future to. You know what I mean? Like there's no franchise quarterback for the Saints to get here in 2025. You're going to have a lot better options in 2026. I agree.
For sure.
And spoiler alert: if Rattler isn't it, he's not. So just throwing that out there. Hate to burst everyone's bubble, but he ain't it.
And that's why I still think you draft a quarterback in the mid rounds. Just keep
if it's a late round, if the value's there, sure, later on. But there's nothing at 9 this year. There's nothing even remotely close, in my opinion. Like I said, to take us out, 9th pick is edge rusher or corner, and that's pretty much it. Because everything else you can find later in the draft.
Let's see. There may be some comments on my page. There's not. So we don't have any more comments. Let's see. March for Arch. Capture the flag.
Hey, man. I got the Pelicans game on behind me. They're getting their fucking teeth kicked in tonight, too. So keep on losing, Pelicans. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Cooper Flag will be ours in no time. And then he'll have career-ending injuries after career-ending injuries. Welcome to New Orleans, sir.
Yeah. We can finally talk about the Pelicans again when it becomes more interesting. So, but you have anything else to cover?
No, I mean, we hit on a lot of stuff tonight. I mean, we covered, free agents of maybe not, ranked the highest in free agency rankings, but that would be good value. And I'm excited about this coaching staff, man. I mean, you're talking about guys that have either played in the NFL and bring that kind of experience, or your defensive coordinator brings head coaching experience, which is nothing but added value. And I'm all here for that. I'm here for that for sure.
For sure. But that's going to be it here at Off the Dome Sports. Make sure to like and just keep calling in next time. More than Ryan, maybe make it 2 next time. 2 people calling in. But eventually, we're going to have a lot of people calling in. We're going to have a call screener. So this is your time to call. Is what I'm saying.
I guess I do just want to say this. I mean, harkening back to our first episode, that was our first show back in 4 years. Look, I thought it was a good show, and I was pleased to see that, we still kept a pretty large Facebook following that we even, we
4K.
we all have a show when Carr gets cut. Yes, when Derek Carr gets cut, I'll come on and apologize to everyone and be like, yeah, you were right, I was wrong, but man, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. But what I was saying was I was glad to see that our Facebook following was still, basically what it was, during our hiatus, and was glad to see us get some, more YouTube subscriptions. And yeah, I'm excited to build up this community and really kind of build this show back into, kind of where, like, let's be honest, I think we were onto something before we.
I'm trying to tell you,
before we got off. We had some things lined up, and we won't give them away, but I think there's there's definitely potential to do something with this show. So I'm excited for that. So I want to thank everyone for just sticking with the show and sticking with the page, and yeah, we're here for the foreseeable future, no doubt. God damn!
All right, that's it, folks. You guys have a great rest of the weekend. We'll try to be back next Sunday.
We'll see you next Sunday.
Next Sunday.
If there's no news, we'll do, maybe we'll
go to the store and give me a cold drink. When I get that cold drink, I'm finna bust it down.
Bust it down. Maybe we rank the roster. Maybe we rank our favorite all-time Saints. We'll find something to make a show out of, no doubt.
Favorite pizza,
pineapple, baby. Maybe I'll eat a whole pineapple pizza on camera again. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. I may be open to it. I had pineapple and Canadian bacon on it. It wasn't bad.
So damn good. For the record, pineapple absolutely belongs on pizza. You heard it here first.
I don't believe it's pizza, but that's it.
I'm finna bust it down.